Hey guys, welcome to Business Blueprint. This is episode 4. Today I just wanted to give a little background about why I started a social media business and the most important things to remember, especially getting started. A lot of this stuff may seem obvious to people who have been in business before because it's really the kind of thing that if you've been in any type of business before, it's going to come naturally to you. But if this is a first type of business that you're ever starting by yourself, I could see how a lot of these mistakes can be made. First, to give the background on it, I had already started one business that was running successfully. And at that time, I had already had a huge interest prior to starting my first business. I was very interested in social media, especially Instagram. And a lot of this interest came from watching videos by Gary Vee. I saw a lot of what he said and experimented with it a lot. And I was able to take theme accounts that I was just making as a hobby, and I was able to grow them to have huge engagements and to gain followers relatively quickly. And, at a certain point around the 2,500, 3,500 follower mark, I would get bored of it. I would see the trajectory and I'd start a different page. But I was just doing this to see if it was repeatable. And essentially I was at the point where I knew how to grow an Instagram page. So once I had these techniques figured out, and the other thing I did was I spoke to a friend of mine that I knew from college who was an influencer, and, she had a huge following, and I asked her for, how she grew her page organically. So based on that interest in the back of my mind, I had a couple of business ideas that I wanted to try out. And one of the ideas was I figured maybe I'll do an e-commerce business and I'll grow my own Instagram page to direct traffic to an e-commerce website, specifically a subscription-based site. I made a lot of mistakes in that process, and what I found out is that followers don't necessarily equal buyers, they don't necessarily equal customers, and engagements doesn't necessarily equal customers either. I gained a huge following. We had a lot of reach, a lot of engagements, but we weren't getting any sales. The other problem was I was running an entire business while I was doing this other thing. So I either had to choose between sleep or paying somebody to help me run this. I wasn't paying them much money, but the loss is when you're not making any sales and you're paying a couple $100 a week. It adds up to the point where you got to cut your losses somewhere. And I didn't see any improvement, so I figured I'd take that money and put it into something else. So from there, I continued running one successful business that I had, and I always had the idea in the back of my mind, well, maybe I'll just help people that want to grow their brand recognition on Instagram. I won't promise necessarily that they're going to gain customers off the bat, but we'll get your name out there. We'll make your name recognizable. And I teamed up with a friend of mine who at the time was working for me in my other business, and we started brainstorming some ideas. And essentially, it started as a part-time thing and actually building the infrastructure of the business, creating a name, a logo, getting our own brand awareness out there. And once we kind of had that all set up and we, figured out what we were going to do, obviously the next most important thing is getting customers. So at that point in time, we set out, really just through word of mouth and, finding business owners that we could pitch the idea to. And once we got a few customers and we had some revenue coming in, enough to at least pay for, where the business was self-sustainable, my friend that was working for me, I told her it was time to go do social media full time. I would replace her position in my other business so that, she could focus on the social media company full time. Because one thing I know is that you're not going to have a successful business if you're not doing it full time. Somebody needs to be in there full time. So it's understandable getting started and you know, getting the ball rolling, to be doing it while you have something else going on. But the first most important mistake is don't think that it's going to be a side hustle forever. You have to know when to put your all into it. You have to know when to put your full focus on it and to break away. So like I had the luxury of having a partner where I was able to say, listen, I'll put up any money that we need getting started, and you could put in all the time, and that'll work out, and whenever I have time to put in, in between, but at least we have one of the partners is on the business full time. I'm into it part time, as well as supporting my partner in, by sharing my experience on different things. So one of the other main things that you have to know in business is how to figure out how to be profitable. Now that seems like another obvious thing, but it's really, when you're hiring, you have to think about what your labor costs. So if I have 2 employees that are earning $20 an hour, and they work X amount of hours on a project, let's say they each put 2 hours into a project, so they're each getting $40 towards that project. All right, so all of a sudden that you have to make sure that $80 is accounted for when you work out what you're billing the client for. So if you haven't been in business before, you might think, okay, I'm charging the client a fair amount of money, but then at the end of the month, you're either breaking even or losing money, and you can't figure out why. I've seen it happen before, where it's because you're not accounting for the fact that over the course of the month, you have your labor going into a particular client who's not paying enough to warrant the amount of labor that you're putting into their account. That's the second thing that you want to make sure you do, is make sure you're accounting for the cost of your labor and bill your clients accordingly. So number 3 is going to be, make sure you're managing your customers' expectations. Make sure that you're selling your services realistically. Don't go into a company and promise them that if they hire you for 3 months, they're going to have X amount more customers in their store, restaurant, whatever type of business it is. Make sure that you're telling them exactly what you're going to do. For me, I'm not looking for somebody who just wants to get more customers in the door right away. What I'm looking for, if you want to build your brand recognition, if you want to increase your engagements and your following on social media because you're trying to build a brand, that I'm your guy. I guarantee you I'm going to increase your engagement. I guarantee you I'm going to increase your following, and I guarantee you I'm going to increase the name recognition of your store or your business, whatever the case may be. But I can't guarantee you that is going to equal a certain amount of customers. Is it going to grow your business? Of course it will. Can I put a number on exactly how much and how quickly? I can't do that. So if my customer knows what they're getting from me and I manage their expectations, they're never going to leave because I'm doing exactly what I promised them. The only way they're really going to leave is if they're in a true financial hardship, or if their goals have changed for some reason or other that has nothing to do with me. And even if their goals change, there could still be a way that we could work together. So, that's another major thing that I've seen people do in this industry, is they oversell and underdeliver. And that happens in every industry, but I'm just telling you how to avoid it happening. Just when you go into a new client, promise them the things that you're strong at, and also promise them the things that you like. You don't want to necessarily promise them things that you're going to have to hire freelancers for, unless you're going to make sure that you're billing them enough where it's actually worth it for your company. So, if you're going to hire a freelancer to do certain work and the freelancer's making more off of the deal than you are as a company, then why are you even doing it? Tell them to hire a freelancer and you guys will collaborate together. So, for me, I would also, my recommendation would be push the things that you're strong at personally. You don't have to be a one-stop shop either. You can go in and say, listen, I'm really good at creating reels. That's what I do. I'm good with video work. You don't have to go in there and be the best photographer, or you could just be a photographer and say, I'm going to take the best pictures for your social media, but I don't write captions. So there's a lot of different things, a lot of different angles you can take. But, the top three things are to make sure that you're married to it. You're not going to be successful at something that you're not married to. Make sure that you are accounting for your labor cost properly when you're creating your pricing. And make sure that you manage your clients' expectations. Those are the three most important things I could tell you. This relates directly to my experience in social media. However, it's applicable in any type of business. Thanks for watching episode 4 of Business Blueprint. Subscribe to see weekly videos sharing my experience on starting businesses and running businesses. Leave in the comments, let me know what you thought about this one. If you have your own tips running a social media company, or you have specific questions that you'd like me to address in a future episode, let me know in the comments below. Thanks again for watching. Have a great day.